Alright, I call the order of the meeting of Tuesday, September 17, 2019. Can I have a moment of silence for all of us serving inside and outside our borders, please? Alright, will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alright. Roll call, please, Mary.
Mary Adrian Sandoval.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Larry Clark.
Here.
Harold Leggett.
Present.
Ian Ralston.
Here.
Spencer Bradnan.
Here.
Troy Blum.
Here.
Hope Morris.
Here. Alright. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Make the motion, we approve the agenda.
Second. Alright, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda approved. Audience participation. Nobody? No? Mr. Calvert? No? Okay, so I had to run home because I knew if I left this sucker in my bag, I'd get caught with it, and if I left it at home, I'd forget it, and that's what I did. But I want to present this award for Mr. Blum for his appreciation for his duty and sacrifice and service to our country on behalf of the Town of Platteville. Mr. Blum recently retired.
Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, the consent agenda, which includes minutes for August 20th, regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, which you have in paper form, the August financials, and the August pay bills.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda approved. Action items. Ordinance 784, an ordinance of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Platteville amending sections 8-120, 10-120, and Article 3 of Chapter 10 of the Platteville Municipal Code regarding electric scooters. Mr. Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Previous meeting, Kinder Town Trade presents memos to the board, which I present to the board to review regarding the recent legislation with Colorado. Two of those changes are on the agenda tonight. The first was this ordinance, amending the code regarding e-scooters. The ordinance is in your packet. It simply defines the e-scooters, electric scooter, what it means, basically less than 100 pounds, maximum speed of 20 miles per hour. We discussed it could be ridden on streets. We didn't ban them from truck routes because Grand Avenue currently is a truck route, so people could not get to and from Rogers Farm or Old Homestead. So hopefully in the future that may change, but not totally like those on the County 34. And then not running on the sidewalks, which is a big issue in Denver metro area on scooters, as you probably heard on the news. But yes, on the roadways on the bike lane. Pretty straightforward, but we don't have anything else to add unless the town attorney does.
Anything else, unless y'all have questions? I didn't entertain a motion.
Move to approve ordinance 784, an ordinance of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Platteville amending section 8-1-20, 10-1-20, and Article 3 of Chapter 10 of the Platteville Municipal Code regarding electric scooters as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Resolution 2019-30, a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Platteville, Colorado, establishing the town's website as the Board of Trustees official posting location. Mr. Rankin.
Another legislative change, House Bill 19-1087 made this change, so we're officially making the Town of Platteville website as our official posting location, and we will continue posting paper notices here at Town Hall and Quarter. So that's all it involves.
Questions, comments, concerns? I'd entertain a motion, please.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2019-30, a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Platteville, Colorado, establishing the town's website as the Board of Trustees official posting location as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. C, Sursa Property Casualty and Workers' Compensation Insurance quote for 2020. Mr. Rankin.
Probably should slow it down, we're going too fast.
You just jinxed it, boss.
I know. Annually, we receive these preliminary quotes, but ironically, like Ken and I was talking before the meeting, CERSA requires the mayor to sign this and send it back to them before, October 1, Mary? So the final cost over the years doesn't fluctuate very much at all, so I'm comfortable presenting this to the board. As you can see, the increases were slight, which is nice, and health insurance is next, and I'm happy to talk about that as well. But we had a good CERSA audit score with their extra credit. I think it was 118%. Staff works fairly hard on that. There's a couple things I need to do this next audit that I hope they'll get done before January 1. Otherwise, we've done pretty good. When I took over as town manager, audit score was in the 20s.
Wow.
So we've maintained 90 to 100% pretty much all 10 years. So it helps impact our cost too. So this is for budgetary purposes. It just needs to be approved by the board through the mayor's signature, sent back to CERSA before October 1.
All right, questions, comments, concerns? I'd entertain a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve the property and casualty workers' compensation coverages from CERSA as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, Mary.
Harold Leggett,
Yes.
Nick Ralston,
Aye.
Spencer Bradnan,
Aye.
Troy Blum,
Aye.
Larry Clark,
Aye.
Hope Morris.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. D, Public Sector Healthcare Group Vision, Health, and Dental Insurance quote for 2020. Mr. Rankin.
Thank you. Similar to the CERSA quotes, this is something we try to preliminary approve. Mary works on this every year. I'm happy to see the increase is only about 4.2%. I've seen drastically worse than that over the years. We've used Public Sector Healthcare Group for major health, vision, dental, and life insurance for a number of years now. I think overall the employees have been satisfied with them. I know early on when I was manager, we shopped around and became insurance year to year, and that really messed up some employees because the doctors and the prescriptions, so we try not to do that. So it's a fairly small rate when it comes to health insurance. So the Plan B, and in your package, you'll see public sector offers basically 6 plans. B is the one tradition in the past that provides pretty reasonable coverage to employees. That the town pays for the employee-only coverage, and then for spouse, children, or family, the employee picks that up. Employees who work here 3 or more years do receive longevity benefits to help offset those costs. But as you can see, it's fairly comparable, so I'm happy with the smaller increase compared to some last year. Last year was about 7.8 or 8%, I think, Mary. It's closer, just almost double this, so it's pleased with the rates increase. That's all I have. Any questions from the board?
So is this a PPO or an HMO plan?
This is the PPO, Plan B.
Is that better than the HMO?
I suppose. You got David shaking his head, and Steve.
Oh, it is, okay.
I prefer it because you get to choose your provider.
Oh, that's the one.
About 90% of the employees are signed up for that plan.
And public sector health group's been pretty good to work with and pretty responsive. I know when we have questions, very contact with the company, they're pretty responsive with you.
The other 10% that don't choose this plan, choose a different plan or choose not?
We
that?
offer all 6 and let the employees choose what fits their scenario the best. We have a few on Plan A and a couple on D because of the health savings account.
So whatever fits their family or personal needs is what we ask them to select.
And then sometimes their spouse picks up.
But we're just approving this cost for Plan B, right? Yes.
Correct. The cost is $671.62 per employee for Plan B. Employee can elect another plan if it is higher than the pay difference.
Questions, comments, concerns? All right, I entertain a motion, please.
Move to approve insurance funding at $671.62 per employee.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, Mary.
Nick Ralston,
Here.
Spencer Bradnan,
Aye.
Troy Blum,
Aye.
Larry Clark,
Aye.
Hope Morris,
Yes.
Harold Leggett.
Yes.
All right, carried. E, GoCo grant discussion. Mr. Rankin.
Thanks. As you all know, we have two committees, one's Parks, Trails, and Trees, and the other one's the committee. For several months now, the Parks, Trails, and Trees Committee has been discussing the possibility of issuing a GoCo grant, specifically for a splash pad and maybe some other amenities at Lincoln Park. In the 2019 budget, the board set aside $35,000 in the Conservation Trust Fund to do some playground equipment replacement. As everyone who's seen Lincoln Park with the playground, $35,000 is not even close. We require 4 times that amount. But that money could be used for a match either this year or roll over to, not roll over, but reallocate for next year. That's per the board's desire. In the last 2 months, I've met twice with the Parks, Trails, and Trees Committee. They asked me to attend. I presented them at the last meeting last month, more of a special meeting on Saturday. Spencer invited me where a couple years ago, Troy and I did some research on splash pads. He got some quotes from one company, I had to take quotes from another company, so I gave all that to Spencer and the Parks, Trails, and Trees Committee for information purposes, along with information on GoCo grant application, deadlines, process. I knew it came to a point where they were getting pretty serious about making applications, so I scheduled for tonight for a discussion. I'd like to defer to Spencer to lead that conversation. I'd be happy to answer any questions from the board as well.
So the GoCo grant that we're looking at has a maximum funding of $350,000, and the deadline for that is October 24th. When it needs to be turned in. So if we want to do anything next year, we need to meet that grant deadline, essentially, have it turned in by then, have the grant application completed. So the committee voted that that's what we wanted to do, was try to do that. And that's, we kind of formulated a plan in that we would garner estimates and put together a package that we would bring to the board and kind of say, hey, this is what the committee's come up with. These are the costs that we foresee for each thing. And these are the funds that we foresee the town needing to put up towards the GoCo grant, essentially. So right now what we're looking at is a splash pad. The estimate that Troy had was at $111,000 at the time. I got an updated estimate today at $117,000. So the cost hasn't gone up tremendously.
That's not huge for what was in 2008.
There's 17.
Okay.
It's 2 years ago, a little over. But that's a 600 square feet, so it's fairly small. Rebecca Sprague, the chair of the committee, has talked with another company. It sounded like they were from North Colorado, maybe. That was originally, a lot of the estimates we've heard on splash pads is more than $250,000, $300,000 range, which kind of breaks our budget. But she told him flat out, like, we really, 150 would be like the max, or really a little bit lower than that. So he thought he could put together something maybe in like the 1,200 square foot range with a little maybe less awesome amenities, but still have, the cost kind of goes in when you have some of the structures and some of that stuff for the splash pad. And then also, obviously, the infrastructure and the pad and the overall size. That's what we're talking about. So we're learning a lot about all of these sort of things in a hurry, I guess. But what the plan, if you guys will entertain, is that we'll finished formulating an estimate and kind of put together a very rough draft, a grant application, but that would just be for the board to look at, to make sure you guys go along with it, you like what we're thinking, and, you know, we'll have to talk about the budget end of that as well, and make sure that we can allocate the funds. But that's what we're doing right now. Part of the grant application is to solicit community support. So part of our committee has begun that process and, you know, reaching out to local clubs and the school district and even community members, just trying to get their support. Not on a for-sure basis, you know, we're not saying it's definitely going to happen, but if it's going to happen, we have to have those letters of in support. So right now what we're looking at is replacing the playground equipment, the existing playground equipment that's there. And I got an estimate last Friday on that at like $120,000 to just replace the playground equipment. And that's with excavation, with tear out and install included. The gentleman said that the demolition and most of the install could be done by the community. You know, you have like a demolition day, essentially.
Can I
Go ahead,
speak
please.
for 1 second? You were involved in putting that playground equipment in, weren't you, Mr. Calvert?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, when we purchased the equipment and the town installed it.
Okay.
So we saved a lot of money that way. I don't know if we could still do that, but there was a lot of people involved in it.
So you just got a bunch of donations from community members?
No, just time.
Okay.
Time and effort mainly.
Okay.
And the town provided the equipment.
Okay.
Some town members provided, you know, tractors, big post holes, that type of stuff, but
Okay.
we did do the install, which saved a good portion of it. Of course, it was nowhere near what the cost is nowadays.
Sure, absolutely.
We didn't have near the money either back then.
Thank you, sorry.
Oh, no, please, there's
Why
any
not
input.
back down?
I'm talking too much, I apologize,
No.
but just trying to get all the information out there. So with those, if we can, you know, I was thinking we can elicit to, like, the local, oil and gas companies have some excavation equipment, try to get them involved. You know, we can even put like a plaque on the playground that has, you know, this park is funded by, and put, you know what I'm saying there?
We could advance.
Okay, perfect.
And talk.
So, if we can get that sort of in-kind donation on the install and demolition, then we're down around the 90,000 mark for the playground, which is kind of the okay budget, I guess, for what we figured out. So, you got 90,000 for the playground. If you're at 117 is the bottom number that we have from the splash pad. Maybe the estimate comes back from Rebecca's person at 150, so maybe we call it 150 the max on that. And then, Mr. Clark actually attended our last committee meeting and suggested that we at least look into the possibility of putting a restroom facility in as well. And there's some good reasons behind that. There is some sanitation, there has been sanitation issues with splash pads if they're not maintained properly. And a lot of that has to do with fecal or urine, you know, getting into the system. So if there's a bathroom available for the kids to use, you're probably less likely for that to occur.
Well, we could have to have a pump house anyway or something like that for the water and stuff, so we can tie it to that.
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff goes underground, but there does need to be some sort of structure. So some of the bathroom facilities that I've looked at have like a central hallway that I'm hoping we can tie, and I don't have all the details on that yet, but I'm hoping we can tie that sort of closet area in the bathroom into the pump house for the splash pad. And then we have, David, while I've got you here, we have water and sewer service to the park. Is that true? We have the lift station at the park, so I imagine we have sewer. Is that true?
There's no lift station in Lincoln Park,
Oh, that's-
you're referring to Lincoln Park.
Okay, what is the building there in the corner?
That's the well. for
That's a
the-
well.
For the irrigation.
So do we have sewer access to the park? Do you know?
There is sewer in the south end of the park, north of the library.
And there's water on the site.
There is water at the site, both potable and non-potable.
Perfect. So the restroom estimates are coming back right now around 115. So you compound these and you're right at that like 350 mark, which is the top of the grant. And the town's match comes to around 75,000 roughly when we start to do them up. And these are ballpark, very, very, very ballpark numbers right now. Like I said, I'd like to, if you guys will entertain it, I'd like to give the committee a chance to put all their work together in a document and submit it to the board for you guys to look at with some more concrete numbers and actual designs, things, so you guys can see something.
Could you guys put together, possibly what it would take to maintain it moving forward?
Yeah, that's part of our research
Okay.
currently,
Beautiful.
absolutely.
Fabulous.
The playground really doesn't have a maintenance cost. You know, the playground guy says you need to every year put in new mulch, but I don't believe that's something we currently.
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years, it should be every year, but we stretched it to every 2.
So that wouldn't be an additional cost though than what we're on right now. The splash pad, the gentleman that Rebecca spoke with said you figure about $2,000 a year in maintenance costs. Someone does have to go there, when it's in use, someone does have to go there every day and do a water quality sample test. They have to be approved by the state to take that test. But really, it's like, you're really on site only like 15 minutes a day if you're just there to do that. And there's some filter cleaning, maybe weekly.
That's only during the time it's operational, right?
Yes. When it's in operational, it's similar to like a sprinkler system, you blow out the lines and then it's dormant. So there wouldn't be any cost then. And then the restroom upkeep, I'm still looking into that. I was gonna see David if you thought RSL would that something that's in their wheelhouse? It's not?
Don't think so. They do trash, but that's about it. And that was outside their wheelhouse, so we twisted their arm a little bit.
So we'd have to figure out a solution to that. And this is, we really just got that one like totally snowballing less than a week ago, or about a week ago exactly today, so I'm still working on a lot of answers for that one, I will say. But I think we'll have some more concrete answers by the time we get to the board in a couple weeks.
Did you say the water quality testing has to be done how frequently?
Daily.
Daily.
Or bi-daily, depending on the use.
And I would take it that would fall to you, David?
I don't know, we hire Well County to do our other ones right now.
Oh, you do? And they charge for the test, I assume?
And we only have to do it on the drinking water system once a month.
Once a month. And
So I
you
think
know
it's
what they
like
charge you for that?
Not off the top of
Testing.
my head, I don't.
Well, do we hire like somebody to help with the ball fields in the summertime, right? What we used to, could that be another task that person, is like, here you go.
I'm not sure what kind of testing will be required, it just depends on the.
Well, it's just, probably an online test, I mean, I've
Probably
seen
an
that in
online
swimming
test.
pools, that they go out there and dip the water in and do their stuff and
Well,
test,
it doesn't have to
about
be
it.
done by someone who's certified to.
That's what I said, you can probably get that online, that certification is probably fairly easily.
Okay, well, I'm just.
I think it's definitely a point we have to cross, I'll get the answer for you.
I only raised the question because of the cost of, aside from putting in the bathroom, the playground, the splash pad.
Yeah,
There is an ongoing cost
absolutely.
to clean the bathrooms, testing the water. There's gonna be maintenance at some point on
100%.
any piece of infrastructure over time. Next week, it's just a week older than it was today.
I'd like to
So
put a
it's-
hard number to all of those
It's
things.
closer to requiring maintenance, and we should have our eyes open to all of those potential costs
Absolutely.
in the future.
So I'll have the answers, well, the committee will have the answers to those certification requirements
And your grant application is due on the 24th.
of October, yes.
And I see that there's 2 board meetings in October prior to that.
Yes, sir.
The 1st and the 15th, if I'm not mistaken. And so you think that the committee will have their total presentation to the board at one of those 2 meetings?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're pretty close to having all the estimates at this point, so that it's formulating it into a coherent document.
Spencer, I have a couple questions.
Please.
The playground that you're looking at, is that gonna replace the existing one in size, or gonna be smaller scale so the splash pad fits next to it? How does that gonna work?
Right now, it would be replacing it exactly in size, not downgrading. Committee hates to try to hear, that we would downgrade what we have. We're trying to upgrade the town, I guess, is the goal of the committee. So, right now, it would be a direct replacement. The playground rep really was pushing that separate, like 2 to 5 amenity, and then the 5 to 12, like having a separate sort of area for each. And he thought he could make that work in the footprint we have. And then add like a dual swing bay, so like one infant swing and one, larger swing. That's all the room we have for it. The swings have a really large use zone.
We did that at Riverview, that's why there's so much concrete. Does the footprint be, I'm sorry, is the footprint between the shelter and the library, is that where the footprint is? It doesn't expand into the open space, does it?
We haven't put that to paper, the splash pad next to the playground yet, I would say.
Okay.
And the committee has differing views on what that looks like. Some of us think it looks better directly to the east of the playground, but you wouldn't extend past that secondary concrete structure.
That small shelter?
That little shelter that's over there, and nothing would go past that. So yeah, I don't really think the open space would be intruded upon if you did it that way. Or half the committee thinks it goes back behind. So that's still to be decided.
Okay.
And that, obviously the board hasn't, nothing is decided, certainly. The board has the last say on everything. And the committee certainly understands that. I hope you guys don't think that we're moving outside of your bounds. It's just, we see this goal that we could get this built next year, we get this grant by October 24th. So the committee voted that they wanted to try to do it, and knowing that we have to get the board's approval for it, and we're not naive to that fact at all. But we think it'll be a huge asset for the town, and the GOCO grant gives you a 75-25 match, which is an incredible opportunity, honestly.
Does GOCO still allow what's called professional in-kind to offset part of the cash match? They
Yes.
used to years ago.
They do.
So that 25% could be, usually there's a minimum cash match, and that's all there's been a while since they did the GOCO. Before it was 80-20, and they said 10% had to be minimum cash, the other 10% could be professional in-kind. So they had to be qualified crane operator or whatever, not just all the neighbors showing us the shovels. That doesn't qualify.
Right.
You have to have professional qualified people.
Yes, it has to be an actual tradesman, and she also said that in-kind could be counted for town staff's time taken towards the project as well.
So you're writing the grant, so I can't use my time.
Correct. Well, we're gonna need a little bit of it.
Well, just to clarify, the town of Platteville would submit the grant to GOCO. And I would have to put my name on it on behalf of the Parks, Trails, and Trees Committee with board approval, because it has to come from the government entity.
But we're gonna try to get it in a pretty package, so Troy just has to manipulate a few things and send it out, is the hope.
Did you look at,
Manipulated, sir?
did you look at any ADA components on the playground equipment? Cause that might enhance your, grant application. Is if you add an ADA component to your playground equipment or to the splash pad?
I think that's a great idea. No, I don't believe anyone's brought that up yet.
The splash pad should be
It
ADA.
should be.
Go out there and splash.
Everything anymore should be ADA compliant.
Yes.
And the existing playground does have ADA components already, so as long as the new one is basically, I mean, there's not a lot there, but they do have ADA access to the existing one. There were some enhancements that could be made. Part of some of that is just if there's a couple of small toys that were younger kids' toys that broke off that were around that have been removed. Installing something like that, but they need to have a rubber mat or something instead of, believe it or not, they say the wood chips are ADA compliant, and that you can put a wheelchair or a stroller across those.
Really?
That's why we took the pea gravel out at Rogers Farm, was because Rogers Farm, the pea gravel is a safe surface, because you can fall and it's an impact surface that's qualified, but it is not an ADA compliant surface. They say the wood chips, the engineered wood chips are an ADA surface, but they still recommend that you have to certain amenities have a rubberized pathway that you could do with a wheelchair or a stroller.
Okay.
So those kinds of things, that's a great point.
I did, absolutely.
So.
And the cost would go up probably a little bit, but I think it would probably be worth it.
But
at
it
least
will
explore.
enhance your grant application if you
Yes.
have that in there.
Certainly. And Platteville has been a long time since they had a GoPro grant go here, so I think we're fairly good candidate for it. And the playground was replaced in 1997, correct, Mike? That's the latest number I've gotten, is 97, so it's basically twice, the gentleman said 10 to 12 years is about the lifespan of the playground, so it's about double its life. And when he got up there, he said, this thing's really ahead of its time, like it is a nice playground, but the chipping of all the surfaces, there's exposed metal everywhere on the thing, which is very much a hazard if a kid were to fall on that and hit his head. Instead of hitting the rubber coated surface, it gets, just rusty steel. So, there's some parts that are loose or giving way, but he said, I definitely wouldn't do a far out shot of this playground and put it on your grant, because it does look like something that needs to be replaced from 50 feet. But, take some pictures of the real janky area. Yeah, there's plenty of those to go around, he said. He and that gentleman I spoke with about the playground also sits on the GoGo grant committee. So he's fairly new on the committee, but he has some insight out there as well.
What about a letter from like a youth coalition made up of kids from this area? Would that be beneficial?
Absolutely. Any sort of those sort of organizations, we were talking like in-home daycares, that any sort of group that would benefit from the playground, so it's a matter at all. With adding a bathroom, that makes it more of like an event for like birthday parties and things like that as well. You know what I'm saying? It opens up the opportunities for that quite a bit.
May I ask Spencer, and since you're discussing it, I'm assuming the bathroom would be a year-round type facility with heat and hot water and that kind of thing, so that we're not having to try and blow it out, and so that during the colder winter months, we actually still have a bathroom there, or are you not thinking that direction? And there again, the whole ADA,
The bathroom would be ADA compliant. I don't know about, the only thing is the sidewalk. Right, like if you're gonna be ADA compliant, you have to have a sidewalk leading up to the bathroom, or is grass and ADA surface?
No,
You know,
technically you need a sidewalk up there.
A lot depends on where you install the bathroom facility.
right. So,
In most bathrooms I've seen in small, or in any town, they winterize them for the winter time without ventilation.
I would think probably you winterize it, because the cost to heat of the heated model is substantially more than the one that's not.
We're paying $160 a month to keep a porta-john out there. So, I don't know whether.
Right, it probably wouldn't be that much to heat it.
I'm just thinking that a small heater of some kind might be easier versus, it might be less expensive than keeping a porta-john. But when we pulled the porta-john out of there lately, we have been informed that people continue to use the site of the porta-john just without the porta-john.
Awesome.
Great.
I mean, there are a lot of random days in like December and January where you can use the park, the playground, and someone would need to use the restroom potentially too. So
It's just a thought, not
Yeah.
saying it's the way to go, it's just,
We're largely cost driven right now, unfortunately, because we're right up against it on even
Understand.
being able to get this done, so, you know, everyone kind of took a deep breath when Larry even brought the bathroom up, like, okay, here we go, you know. We're gonna jump on this too, but, I think it's a great idea, if you guys will entertain it. I'm really anxious to see what the committee comes up with.
What kind of splash pad would you guys looking at?
The one that Troy has is fairly simple, and I can pull up a picture and pass it around if that's okay. It's really simple, but honestly, it's not much more than what I would think we would have in Platteville for what our budget is looking at. It's about 10 or so actual water, things that are doing water. A couple of them are out of the ground, most of them are not. And I literally just got this quote back today, so I'll show it to you in a second.
They said that the jets are coming from the ground, or?
Yes.
Just like the one I have up Fort Collins?
I haven't been to Fort Collins, I've been
That's
to,
pretty cool.
Have you been to the one in Tacoma?
Huh?
Have you been to the one in Tacoma?
You know, they have a small features, there, and then one, too.
Yeah, they have like trees or whatever that you can have water come out on and different types of things.
All kinds of things.
Yeah.
The other thing too, Spencer, to take into consideration is that maybe in this first phase, that this is like a phase one, that they can actually plumb in like additional features, that you're not buying the features, so you don't have all of the cost of it,
Yes.
but then you could fundraise or something to get those like maybe year 2 or year 3.
and that's what
where you could-
Rebecca, the chair, is working on with her 150,000 number, is that uses a 1,700 gallon tank. So it's a recirculating system, the water, gets pumped into a tank and chlorinated, and then, it comes up through the splash things and, you know, goes down the drain. And obviously has some loss with kids running out and evaporation, but it's pretty much a closed loop system. This one here is only a 1,700 gallon tank, so it can really only support about that size. The system that Rebecca's hoping to get quoted at 150 is a 4,000 gallon tank, so it has a lot of expandability, but with a lot less amenities, but plumbed in so that we can expand in the future, like you're saying.
Right.
Does GoCo good with the phase process? Or is it just, I just know that we have pillars for lights, but no lights that are visible.
Typically, I mean, it's been 10 years since I did a grant, but back then they did. So just,
And we
you
have
phase
another,
it, you build it right, and then you can add on, like Jan said, with volunteers and donations, and add on to that. Typically, no scope it does the project, the project's done.
probably the cost would be something maybe the town could even stomach with some donation, because you don't have all the infrastructure to put in a tank and all that, you're just putting in the additional features. So then you're looking maybe in the 20,000 range, depending on the feature. I mean, one feature, if it's a really awesome feature, like $25,000 just for that. So depending on what your expectations are, but if you just want to make it larger, you can probably do that for a lot less money than this initial build.
That makes sense. Anything from the audience?
Have I missed anything, Larry?
Nope. You did pretty well.
You said, Troy, we've already got 35, earmarked for the playground.
And Conservation Trust is 35. Typically for Parks and Rec replacement activity or projects, we use tax for Conservation Trust money. Conservation Trust is more limited because it comes from lottery funds based on your population. It's gone up a little bit over the years, but we typically get 28,000 to 30,000 annually. So that's pretty restricted.
So we can budget what we have this year plus next year. That
Use tax, exactly. We had built that money up a little bit, so we had a reserve, where we were dipping into the reserve a little bit to do that project, which isn't uncommon, and you build it back up. Otherwise, you never use it. Use tax depends on the economy, it comes off building permits, that 2% use tax. This year has been a really good year. I can't predict next year.
Right.
But But right now, between the two, I could probably come up with 70 or 80 in the budget.
That's what he needs to get the grant, right?
That's what I heard, that's something.
So if we
You know,
can
we
stay
could
with
also, we have other funds too, we can also use the capital improvement fund, but I hesitate to do that because it's more for infrastructure and vehicles and tornado sirens, and more emergency operating issues.
The committee is not, it's never the goal of our committee, it's like our motto, is to not make more work for the town if we can help it. Obviously, adding an amenity will add more work for the public works department like this. And we apologize, but if the quality of life for everyone in town goes up, it may be a trade-off that's worth it.
Sorry, not sorry is what I'm.
And so many words, yeah.
Job security.
But as far as the grant writing and, acquiring of estimates and all that sort of stuff, that's why we jumped in, because we don't want to put the burden on the town. And the same way, we don't want to ask you guys for too much, the committee doesn't want to ask the board for too much money, because we know there's other projects to do stuff. And we have other projects, the committee has other projects that they'd like to ask the town for money in the future, too, so we don't want to put all our eggs in one basket either.
I love it. I think it's fantastic. You guys are doing great. I appreciate it.
I say let's move forward with it. My vote.
The action of the board is gonna be based on the presentation the committee gave the first or second meeting in October. Am I correct?
Yeah, the board will need to pass, other than the allocating the funds, the board will need to pass a resolution in support of the grant.
So there's nothing for us to act on this evening.
Just giving them his blessing and move forward with the committee.
That's not a whole bunch, sorry.
This is only a discussion item tonight, well, the process will be on the 1st or 15th of October, be a resolution to approve the grant application, and you can make, Philco, just like Philco, is going to require that you dedicate your money. So, in essence, you're going to be budgeting the money for the budget's approved. So during that meeting, I will have to assure the board that the money's in the bank, quote unquote, for 2020.
Yep. Troy and David, do you guys have anything that you would like me to take back to the committee as far as things to think about, for this project? Or the board members, anyone in the room? Kendra, is there any legal things that we need to be thinking about here?
Not right now, there will be, but I think we're a little premature.
As far as ADA compliance goes, is that a make or break deal on our bathroom? What is our?
In the bathroom, yes, it's gotta be ADA compliant.
So we'll have to have a sidewalk to that.
That I don't know, sidewalk, I'm guessing yes, there has to be a path to the bathroom, I don't know whether there has to be paved sidewalk.
Yeah.
There has to be a clear path that's accessible by a wheelchair to the bathroom.
Could we crush breeze?
I don't know,
I would do it right.
No, I do it right.
Make it look nice.
yeah, I just don't know the answers to all those specifics.
Yes.
Philco might have answers to that as well.
I was gonna say, depending on where the potential bathroom facility is compared to everything else on it. And we've got quite a bit of sidewalk already with the shelters and stuff like that, so it probably would not be a real big piece to come off of one of those existing sidewalks or something like that. And honestly, I mean, we just got done doing $70,000 worth of sidewalks and stuff in Bella Vista. Sidewalks are not overly expensive. That's gonna be one of the least expensive portions of the project. And I realize every penny adds up.
Do you have a suggestion where we might put the bathroom facility, given that I was wrong and that's not a sewer lift station? I was thinking put it, kind of next to where that porta potty is, maybe on the south side.
Would you need a pump house or something for the splash pad?
You need some sort of above ground
So
structure.
if you have a building
Yeah.
that you have to build for that, have the pump house or something on one side and the bathroom on the other side. That's where I would say we should locate it at.
And I'll show you one of the bathrooms, like I said, it has like a room in the center, so it's two, what we're thinking is just a men's with a toilet, a urinal, and a women's with a toilet, and then it has a center, and it's kind of a little bit of a larger, so you can get changed, but not a big bathroom at all. And then, but like I said, there's a center chase area that they call utility room.
Or could you do one multi-sex bathroom with it? I mean, that's,
You could, but probably not for the playground,
Yeah.
just because of the kids and the adults that are changing. That's, a lot of places are going to unisex bathrooms, but my personal belief is playgrounds are probably not so much.
well, you go one at a time and.
I know,
Or-
or you go stand at the door.
Yeah.
When you force a woman to go in a men's bathroom, sometimes after, you know, I just feel like it's unfair, personally.
I
So-
appreciate that.
I would suggest just talking to David offline about the infrastructure, about
Okay.
the water and sewer, and that's more of an offline
Yes,
conversation.
perfect, I apologize.
Just one more point on that, the presentation yesterday, gentleman suggested a concrete tank for the water as opposed to, like a septic tank kind of thing. And then putting a building on top of that, as far as restroom or utilities, for the, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, just have a home, yeah, so that you build one building instead of one over here and one over here.
No, I agree, we should incorporate, it would make it one structure, that's trying to help.
So I think, you know, the details talk offline. but
Yes.
The impression I have is I'll work on the budget, draft this in there. Tentatively pending next month, and the board has action on that resolution when it comes forward.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to reports.
Okay. So you have my report in front of you that pretty much covers August and September. So it has been, an eventful, crazy 2 months. Fire hydrant shut off. Lit everything on fire. So youth sports registrations for volleyball and flag football. School starting late had a big impact on everything, but that was totally beyond our control. You know, I had people who came in 2 weeks after school started and wanted to register their kids for volleyball. We've already started games. Just can't do it. And NBAA is the league that we play in for volleyball and basketball, and maybe soccer. But they definitely are drawing a hard line in the sand as to deadlines and adding extra teams and things that maybe in the past they've allowed adding extra teams. They're sticking to their deadlines now, so it's gonna take retraining some parents that here's the deadline, you're gonna have to get your stuff in on time. I met with both principals and the athletic director. They're excited to have things continue to move forward. Both schools did ask that we have someone at practices. They don't want doors propped open anymore, because it opens up for safety issues. The building, more so for the kids' safety when they're there, having the door propped open means anyone could walk in. And so they want it needs to be shut, so someone has to be there to let people come in and out of the school. So I have a gym supervisor that sits over there during practices. Right now it's a little tricky because we have 2 practices that are going on at the elementary school, and then one overlaps starting at the middle school, so he has to leave 15 minutes early to get over to the middle school to get that opened up so that people can get in there. So we seem to be making it work so far, but just definitely trying to keep people in the gym area, not let them just wander around the school. I know in the past, in places that I've worked at, as soon as you say, you know, practices at the school, you have a kid who says, I forgot my homework, I'm just gonna run back to my classroom. The schools definitely don't want that. They want us to stay down in the gym. There are bathrooms now down by both gyms at both schools, so there's no need for us to be getting into other parts of the school. So just working on just retraining and
I'm coming up with some new ideas. Basketball registration is currently going on. I did not realize that there's nothing that really, we don't offer a whole lot for that preschool age group. And because of that, I've had quite a few parents that are trying to like just slide, they're like, oh no, he is. And they were trying to do that with flag football, which you would think it's not that big of a deal, except you have some second graders playing. And then you have a 4-year-old out there with second graders, someone's gonna get hurt. So I am looking at the schedule and at gym schedules to see if maybe we could put together like a little preschool program for basketball, some different things that we could do just to provide for those kids an opportunity for something, get them kind of excited about sports. We're starting adult volleyball. We'll start the end of this month over at the middle school. So we're having teams signing up for that. And then also, I talked to some people at Harvest Daze about potentially doing a dodgeball league. And people were pretty excited about that as well. So I think I'll do that. And then was also thinking about maybe doing a like a youth league where, you know, maybe the kids who aren't playing at the high school level could come and, you know, play against each other, play dodgeball, play, you know, some different sports. The seniors have asked, I guess they have a pickleball net, so we're gonna locate the pickleball net and set that up in the community center and let them play pickleball. And there I'm hoping that it doesn't get out of hand and we have, you know, balls flying, broken windows, an angry time. Biking time, I did meet with the principal at the elementary school. She did ask that biking time be more structured than it was in the past and that we cap the number of kids in the classes, which basically is a really good idea. The ratio is typically 1 adult to every 10 to 12 kids. So I would like to stay within those guidelines and possibly offer one-day classes instead of doing multiple classes. So I'm working on getting that together right now and finding people who can teach those classes. We'll be registering for that through the middle of October. My daughter is getting married in South Dakota October 19th. And so I don't want to start any of those classes until after I get back from that because I don't want to be gone while any of those are going on. So it gives us a nice window for registration for people to have about a month of registration time. Harvest Day went really well. We had a good turnout for volleyball and softball. This year, instead of giving out trophies, we gave out t-shirts that said Harvest Daze Champions. For the teams that have picked them up already, they really liked them, like the idea of having a trophy or having a shirt that they could wear versus here's one trophy and you can take your turns keeping it. There's the one wife saying, don't bring that into my house. Don't, that's not coming to our house. So a t-shirt's much easier. She can use it to dust with when I'm tired of it.
You're not married to an athletic guy, are you?
Yeah. Got drawers of shirts. So the seniors, everything is going really well with the seniors. I think some of you saw the newsletter that I sent out. The seniors really liked that. We had 71 people on our mailing list for that. I think I'm up to almost 90 now from people who have come in and asked to be added to the list. So we'll send that out again in October. Well, I'd like to have it sent out before October so that they can sign up for the things at the very beginning of the month. And that is something that I'd like to do with the recreation stuff. My goal is to have a recreation brochure as well, and that probably would go out with the sewer bills because it could reach far more people. The seniors have their regular activities. You know, Black Hawk is always popular. We went to Chautauqua, the Candy Factory, Wings Over the Rockies. We went to a movie, we went to a Rockies baseball game. That was, I have to say, I was so thankful for the seats that we had because, of course, Kathy Saban said there was a slight chance of rain, which turned out to be a torrential downpour in the middle of the first inning. And so thankfully we were underneath the second level, and so we stayed mostly dry. I don't know how dry Noreen and Port Barbara stayed, but they had a really good time with that. They would like to invite the veterans and anyone to come and help celebrate the veterans. On next Wednesday, we'll be having fresh baked cinnamon rolls and coffee. So that is from 7:30 till 10 o'clock. And they did make it, they made a stand that since we opened up for the Rockies games, for them to watch that we needed to be open for the Bronco games. So on Sunday, I didn't realize that the Rockies and the Broncos were playing at the same time. Oh yeah, you can come. So,
You've got
the
picture in
Rockies,
picture.
well, so the Rockies people got there first, so they like set up camp in the seniors room, and then when the Broncos people got there, they were like, you can go to the fitness center. So, they watched it, but that was funny because they dragged chairs over there for them, and Paul said he was gonna tell them that the only way the TV stayed going is if you were on the treadmill. I was like,
You gotta keep the power going.
yeah. Thank you for not telling them that. McKenna, David's daughter, has been working with, she came last week and worked with me, and she's coming tomorrow. And she has helped me get everything inventoried, and she came and performed at the senior barbecue.
That was awesome.
That was a lot of fun. So, I'm happy to answer any questions. Any of you have any?
When you have the rec go out on the sewer bill, will you let me know, and I'll try to put something out there, hey, open your water bill this month.
Yeah, and that's my only concern in putting it in the water bill is, yes, everyone gets a utility bill, but how many people actually open it and look at it? A lot of people are just like, yeah, nope, that's my bill. That can stay until this time, and then they're not gonna open it, so,
I could blast it out there though.
right.
Well, if
Well,
you just heads up, we'll put it on next door and also on every.
Okay.
You sent this newsletter out separately, didn't you, this
I
last
did.
time? Yeah.
Which was funny because I took it initially to the post office and I said, can you tell me how much this is gonna cost to mail? And the lady looked at me and rolled her eyes and told me, you must tape it on all sides and it must be folded in half and it will cost a minimum of $1 per thing to mail. And I was like, okay. So let me get the address and I'll hand deliver those because they're not paying $1 a thing. So I went and talked to Troy, and then we talked about how it's more of a marketing piece and it's giving them all the information. It's not just giving them a calendar. It's just buy it this time and we'll pay the $1. So I fold everything, tape it, get it all in there, and I go to buy, because now I have to go buy postage. And the girl looks at me and she goes, who told you that's gonna cost $1? It's regular postage, that's not $1. And so I was like,
Oh.
the person who worked here yesterday at 3:30 had to, dark hair. She was like, no, this is regular mailing, so. Yeah, I was happy to have it come up. And thankfully Adrian happened to stop by the community center and I was like, so while you're standing there.
Oh, I bothered her for a long time though.
I'm like, here, stick these labels and stamps on.
Go for that.
So, yeah, that's the fear in coming over to the community center is that you're just gonna get hit with a little project to work on, so. At your own risk.
Well, I just wanna say I thought that was a great newsletter.
Thank you.
So,
Very awesome, yeah, I
Good
agree.
information.
Yeah.
And if you know of someone, if you have a neighbor or someone who should be on my mailing list that didn't get one, like you got one and your neighbor didn't, you can email me their address and I'll add them, or they can call and give me their address. I use, I think it's the list from when they used to have the tea at the seniors, or at the community center. So that was the list that I used. There were even seniors that came to senior lunch that were like, I didn't get one of those. Why didn't I get, did you have my address wrong? I'm like, so I gave them my list, here's my list. Are you on it? So,
one question I have is the fitness center, is that getting enough use where we should look at getting like a key card access? We are.
So I can tell you that if you had the keyless entry, I think it would be used a lot more. Because right now, some people just can't come in the windows that we have it staffed from. And so I've told as many people as I see, or when people come and ask about it, I've let them know, you see my car, you're welcome to come and use it. I'll always, if I'm there, I'll always open the door for you. Gave them my card, said call me. I have probably 4 or 5 people that will just randomly stop by, come in, and go and use it. There's about 6 people in the morning. The evenings are not so much. And I just don't, they may just not be signing in the evening. But as soon as that comes in and people can come on their own and do it, I think it'll make a big difference. I think you'll start seeing more and more people using it.
I have a lot of people comment, say that, they can't go to sleep or whatever, they wanna go down there at 11, 12 o'clock at night and.
Well, with winter coming on too, David's looked at research several companies that is very costly, but recently or have provided, they're starting to go into keyless entry systems, so we're waiting on a quote. Much more affordable.
$5,000.
I'd also like to work on getting the seniors, using that more. So like one of the things that I talked about, we tried adding games before lunch, but they don't seem to like that idea of it. And so, one of the things I suggested is I'm like, what if we put on the calendar like for a half hour, 45 minutes, and we just called it Huff and Puff before you stuff. And it's just come and do 45 minutes of exercise before you come over and have lunch.
That took me a minute, but
So,
that's cute.
So I mentioned that. Come on over.
Oh, wow.
And they liked that idea, whether or not they would actually show up and do it, because I opened it, there were some of them that wanted to go in there and just do it on their own. So I was opening it for them, but then, well, if you can sit and drink coffee and have some cookies instead. I'm gonna go with coffee and cookies. So,
Absolutely. Fantastic. Anything else for Janet? All right. Thank you, Janet. All right, Carl.
Thank you, Mayor. I can answer any questions, I got nothing though.
Carl's on his days off, so he came in just for the meeting.
Oh, well, thank you.
Sure.
You actually get a day off?
I know.
And hopefully we will have staffing go back to normal next month.
Yeah, we're still short-handed, we're hoping mid-October, get back to the norm and people get healthy and return, but back on our rotation until then and making it work.
I've had a couple of people complain about the speed of traffic in the morning and the afternoon when kids are going to school and coming, leaving
Where at?
school. In front of the schools, like by where the traffic ferry is. I didn't know if, can we utilize the SRO out front just to?
Sure, I know when I'm on and even Scott and other officers, we're there, we do the zones, the school zones in the 2 towns, but we can use that radar unit too. That's why I asked where exactly, if they know exactly where.
On Main Street.
We can set that up too.
Fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
How's that radar working?
Good.
Some good data on that?
It's working good, I think it slows everybody down. It'd be nice if it ran off of the sun, like a solar panel thing, because I can keep it up for half a week, and I have to plug it back here and recharge it, and then run it back out to another location, but, yeah, so far so good. I was waiting to get rock marks or shot at or something, and it's survived so far, and I mess with it. Yeah.
Do you get data out of that, Carl?
Yeah, it records, so we can see exactly when and what the maximum speed is, and between this hour and this hour, it's all recorded. Yep.
Like I license plate car color.
Yeah,
I
right.
was gonna say, we're not taking pictures of the car.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, just ignore the white Subaru.
Yeah, right.
Never mind.
No, I've been asked a couple times if it's a revenue maker, that you could expect something in the mail. No, we're not there. No, it seems to be working so far, slowing people down.
Anything else for Chief?
Noticed an increase of truck traffic on the truck route.
There was more, you said, or is?
Yeah. Midday, I mean, it's just kind of sporadic, but more water trucks, not trash trucks, dump trucks.
Down 32.
In the last how many days?
Where the no truck route through there. I don't know if they're not seeing the sign, it looks like it got moved. But
Do you
I'm
know
not
a
sure if
logo, do you see a logo on the side at all that we can follow up?
they have numbers, but you can't make them out, like picture wise. I'm taking pictures and just not making
On the
those numbers
weekend,
out.
weekdays, or?
Weekdays,
Weekends?
weekends, yeah, it'll be midday. I mean, it's not like a certain set time, like only in the mornings and afternoons. It's during the day. A few times at night, they're probably around between 9 and 10 on the weekends. But I'm not sure if they're just not getting that.
We'll keep an eye on it, yeah.
Roofing nails, Nick.
Right?
Looks like a champ.
Yeah, I'm not punishing everybody else that takes Center Road, including myself. I'll probably pick them up.
Don't have any traffic at all. By the keg.
No, and, if you happen to see a logo on the side,
Yeah.
write it down, would you?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to see them. If I have a logo, we don't have to actually see them. I can go and knock on the door, make a phone call, and say to knock it off.
I did see a ready service truck go through there. That's one logo I did see, with the water trucks, but I might have been a couple times I've seen that. Like I said, I've seen more water trucks, more tankers, and dump trucks going through there.
We'll keep an eye on it for sure.
Has it been increased over the last couple of days?
Yeah.
That's
Mainly it's like in the
that's
afternoon, but-
probably due to the fact that we have Cemetery Hill closed right now. We've got people bypassing, so we've got people that are not used to the route that are coming down. So once we get Cemetery Hill open tomorrow afternoon, we might see a decrease in that. I mean, I'm not saying 100%, I'm just,
Yeah.
but we've got we've confused a lot of people, even though we've got detour signs up all the way along the route.
That may be it.
That's hard to
Like I
follow
said,
those orange signs that say
in the mornings,
detour,
I'll
you
see
know.
it there when, a couple of them before the school bus gets there and in the afternoons, so.
We'll keep an eye out for sure.
I know you guys do a good job, I just put it back out there, you know.
No, for sure. Thanks.
Thank you. Anything else for Chief? All right, thank you, Carl. Moving on to Brent. David.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor.
Carl.
I would be happy to entertain any questions on any of the items that I had on my list. I was thinking I was gonna get away with it, just like Carl, and say I don't have anything to add. Then I read the town manager's report and said I was supposed to report on our meeting with Northern Engineering and Stevie Ferris. So, we did meet with Steve. I'm not exactly sure whether you want me to jump into that, Troy, or if you want to in your report, because I'm not sure what you were planning to.
Let's not complain, just give a ballpark.
Okay.
What?
Okay, did you bring his with you? Cause I left mine set in my office.
$1.42 million.
Well, that doesn't include the water line. So,
1.4?
There has to be a water line, maybe.
so right now they have figured out, and there was a couple other minor drainage items that Troy and I discussed that we wanted to have added into that number. So I think the number's gonna be right around 1.6 is my guesstimate when it's all said and done. The kicker is we're doing what the engineers refer to as a roller coaster along Reynolds Avenue in order to drain it to a low spot and then take that drainage and run it to where we need it to run underground in a pipe. But by doing that, and where we're gonna, Reynolds has been built up over the years, and we're gonna take it back down and make it a little more compliant with the Reed River and Melody, where they come in, or I should say Reed and Melody, it's not so much river. But we're gonna shave enough that we're only gonna have about 2 foot of cover over the water line in sections along there. And that doesn't work real well in the cold weather months in Colorado. So the water line is old enough that the justification to go ahead and replace it isn't hard to reach. And the fact that we're gonna be putting a brand new road over the top of it, we did that in division. We went through and tied everything over before we rebuilt division and did all that. So the justification wasn't hard to come up with. Coming up with the cash to do it is always the kicker to go for with that. I think when that was installed, they installed the sewer line and the water line in the same trench. You save money that way, but according to the health department, that's not the best way to do it. Technically, you have to have 10 foot of separation between the sewer and the water, and there's portions of the sewer, portions of the road where the sewer and the water appear to be in the same trench, within 2 to 4 feet of each other. So part of what we would be doing is we would be moving that 10 feet away from, and it has to be 10 feet away from sanitary sewer as well, so the new storm drainage, or it has to be 10 feet away from sanitary and then 10 feet away from storm. So the new storm would move over under the sidewalk, right? Is that what Steve said?
On the south side.
On the south side. So we would end up moving the storm drainage over a little bit further to the south. Steve's rough estimates, he has not given us a number on the water line yet. It's somewhere between $30 and $50 a foot, not counting valves and reconnections. So just doing the math on that, that's about $86,000 to $97,000 just in the water line itself for the amount of water line that we would need to put in. So that's where I'm coming up with about $125 is my thought process on the water line installation along there. And then there was some additional drainage work, and we can get into more details during budget and that kind of thing, but we think we have kind of a phasing plan over a 2-year period that might work for this project.
For like $1.5 million.
Looking at a 2-year phasing, about half of it is just the storm drainage, digging out a new pond on Lot B on Division, digging out a much larger pond behind the community center, behind that ball field. All that whole grass area is gonna go outside the fence, which is not used for anything. We have to relocate some trees and we have some irrigation. And then put in the actual storm drain along Reynolds. That's about half your cost.
With the water line.
With the water line. And then that would be phase 1. Phase 2 would be putting in curb and gutter sidewalks, asphalting it, and getting it done.
Nice.
I think that is something we'll talk about in budget, obviously, during the capital project discussion, but we'll have some more. Steve Patheris has been a town engineer since God knows when, early 90s, mid-90s. And when he gives us a cost estimate, man, he's been right on the target, close, like within 5%. It's crazy. So.
Is there potential grant funding for that project?
DOLA doesn't qualify. I've asked around to the town managers, I've talked to Don Sandoval, DOLA, I just can't find anything that'll qualify on a side residential street. Unfortunately.
You're looking at a 2 years completion date, approximately?
But potentially, yeah, that was kind of what our thought process was when we were having discussions the other day. So.
Not a judgment, it's just a question.
No, I mean, and it depends on whether the money appears in 2021. You know, if you've got a magic goose egg or something for 2020, we can do it all, but.
Let's see what I can come up with.
Win that lottery, Larry. I mean, I know it's kind of strange. It's kind of strange, but next year is a major election year for this nation, and the economy could depend on how that election outcome. The way I look at it, so I look at 2020's budget might be okay, but 2021 may not. I don't know. So this is a 2-year project. I want to be very conservative. The 3-year project I thought is what it would be, but I think we can do it 2 years. But the money's just got to be. This has been a good financial year.
Yeah.
So sorry to step on you.
No, you're fine. The only other 2 things I'll bring up real quick, have not heard back from CDPHE yet on the application that went in on the pilot. So I emailed Grosswind and JVA this afternoon and have not heard back. And then the second bullet under wastewater system, we have replaced both submersible pumps at 32.5 in the last 2 weeks. We had one that we knew was going bad and was ready to go, and then we lost the one that was running properly. So we replaced the one that was running properly, and then ended up getting the other one replaced as well.
Do you have backups on the shelf somewhere? maybe, for those?
They're on the shelf, but they're on the vendor shelf. It's a 4 to 5 day lapse time, and the reason I say they're on the, yes, we try to keep one on the shelf, and right now the one that's going back in for warranty work, once that gets warranted and brought back to us, then that will be sitting on the shelf as a spare. We inadvertently had 2 spares for 32.5. The pumps are very similar, but they are not the same. I should say, back up, we had 2 spares on the shelf for Goodrich, and we thought we had one for Goodrich and one for 32.5. They're very similar, they're made by the same company, but when the guys had looked at them, they thought we had one for each, and then we realized we had 2 for 32.5, or for Goodrich, and we didn't have any for 32.5, but that has been remedied once we get the warranty item back. So
So
yes.
if any one of them went out,
We normally have one on the shelf that we can replace right away,
Okay.
and then it's only a 3 to 5 day lead time to get the replacement for that,
Okay.
so.
How do you identify if a pump is out on the lift station? Do you
It smells bad.
just check those regularly, or?
Multiple issues. We were having a seal leak issue on the one that was a warranty item, so we get an alarm on that. The electronics is there to tell us that. 90% of the time, it quits pumping. When we lost the one, we couldn't figure out what happened. A sewer lift station is a very harsh environment. When that lift station was built, it was not built with stainless steel metal inside, it was built with regular galvanized metal inside. It was built before I got here. The hook that was, the metal hook that was holding the power cord where it was supposed to be rusted through. The power cord fell down, got sucked into the pump, and got cut in half. So
You have, each lift station has alarms on it that you guys monitor.
yes. And we monitor daily run times of every pump at every lift station. Be happy to answer any other questions if there are any.
The sidewalk between the middle school and the elementary, I've heard somebody say the school put that in. Was that was us, wasn't
No,
it?
that was the town.
That's what I thought. It's wide, it's beautiful.
Looks
Looks
great.
great.
Yeah.
The Jim Nelson Masonry got that bid and did that one for us, and Jim did a nice job.
Fabulous. Okay, anything else for Mr. Bryan? All right, thank you, David. Moving on to Mrs. Carter.
Hi, I don't have anything to add to my report. I'm happy to answer any questions, and the one thing you may want to discuss, which is at the end of my report, is the tobacco issue. There is no rush to that, so if we want to set another time to discuss it, I'm happy to do that as well. I know it's just been all over the news.
Do we have to?
You don't have to do anything.
Okay.
It's completely your option, but I know it's been all over the news. And just to summarize, there are 3 things you may want to do with tobacco. There's no obligation to do anything. The first is to raise the minimum age from 18 to 21. And as I said in my report, that's, I don't want to say easy, but that's perhaps the simplest move if you wanted to make any move. The second is to require local licensing of any retailers that sell tobacco products. This includes vaping, nicotine products, cigarettes, all of it. That is a pretty huge staff burden because that would require somebody to run a licensing program. So that would be similar to liquor licensing or things like that. So that's the second. The final is in April, if you wanted to, you could have an election to impose a tax on tobacco products. If you choose to do that and it passes, you would lose your local share of the state's tobacco tax. There's been really conflicting reports out there, so I just want to make that clear. The state is taking the position that if you have your own tax, you don't get the state tax. I will tell you that if you have your own tax, it's approximately 10 times more than the state tax. So most communities that are considering a tax are not worried about losing their share of the state tax. So again, this is not a discussion we need to have now. There's no rush on any of this, other than if you wanted it on the agenda in April, on the election in April, you would have to decide by about January.
Is that the only election that we are allowed to put tax questions on? We're not allowed to do the November ballot?
We can't do this November because we're statutory.
Okay.
We may be able to get some clarifying legislation next session to allow you to do it next November, but the safest place to do it is next April.
Gotcha.
Or any other regular town election. There was some really restrictive language in the bill for statutory towns as to when you could have these elections, so statutory towns cannot have it this November.
With
So,
the size of our town, was it, sounds like it might be a hurt rather than a help to do the tax. Right,
you know,
because
that would
it's
take,
probably more from the state than it would from our internal sales.
I'm guessing not, but,
No?
well, every single town that's imposed a tobacco tax has underestimated by probably 30% what they thought they were gonna get. So for example, just City of Aspen, because Aspen did it 2 years ago, they're the best example right now. I'm not saying that we're similar to Aspen or that we would have the same results as Aspen, but they estimated at a huge amount of $325,000, and they ended up with $450,000. They had to do a Tabor refund. So most estimates from municipalities have been super low. Because the tax that you would impose is you don't have to impose a 40% tax, but what everyone is imposing is a 40% tax. So it's much higher than a state tax. So that's why your set off is usually your state that you're losing would be far less than what you're collecting. I'm not saying you need to do 40%. 40% is what everyone is doing. That's not a mandated amount.
So is that just on tobacco products or the e-cigarettes too?
It's on e-cigarettes, anything with nicotine. So cigarettes, e-cigarettes, as I said, anything with nicotine in it, so vaping products that contain nicotine. As you might have heard, some communities are doing a ban on flavored vaping products. We can't do that because we're not home rule. I'm not saying we would want to, but there are certain limits to what you can do.
Well, we need to make it harder for the kids to get a hold of this.
Well, and that's where the 18 to 21, and I don't know what the chief thinks of this, a lot of police officers I've talked to said it really is going to make no difference. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that.
About right.
Okay. They're raising the age that they'll get them anyway if they want them, and there are already kids younger than 18 getting them, and raising it to 21 isn't going to change that. I'm not. I'll leave it to you. I shouldn't speak for you.
I think you're exactly right. If someone wants to smoke, they'll smoke. That's how I
But if we raise the taxes, they might not be.
Yeah, the taxes.
So then they'll just steal them.
The taxes have proven to be more of a detriment to juvenile smoking than anything. Raising the age hasn't, at least based on what I've read, hasn't made any difference. So,
Well, the tax would sure bring a lot of revenue into town.
yeah, it brings a huge amount of revenue. So, and the other thing you do is also wait and see, because a lot of municipalities are imposing it now in November, home rule specifically. So there's no rush. You could also just wait and see what everyone else gets in 2020. Or, you know, it's really up to you all, and this, like I said, this may be better for a longer discussion at another time. I just wanted to bring it up because I know it's been all over the news, so.
Should we have a study session maybe after budget season about this topic?
It's called Christmas. In January we could.
And I do have I have a list of municipalities that are already doing certain things, and I can bring that to your study session so you have more information. Also, at that time, you'll know which one's passed, although every tobacco tax I've ever heard of has passed, usually 3-1, so.
Really?
So, but I can bring all this, in other words, if we do this in December.
It would probably bring a ton of money, right?
It's a
We're
huge
talking 40% with
It's 40%.
Splash pad.
Yeah, right?
Well, it depends on what towns do it, what towns don't. I mean, those who want to use that product will find towns that don't tax and they'll just go and buy it.
Yep. That means I'm done spending my money here.
Right.
I mean, that's just
Well, right, and that's something you all should consider,
definitely a point of view.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right, so
There's
it's,
many of them.
there are many points of view on this, and you can also, like I said, wait till after November and see which ones pass, maybe some of them don't, I don't know how all of these communities.
Yeah, I
do
think
it.
a lot of towns from here on probably gonna raise their taxes.
Counties can do it too, just so you know, So I don't, I know there are a number of counties who are also putting it on the ballot, either this November or next November, they're talking about it. And what that would mean is, they can't impose it within your town if you have your own, but if the county imposes it, it'll be imposed anyway. So you may not have a choice about, unless you're going out of county. And I'm not saying Welch County's gonna do it.
Another point of view.
So, all of those things are things we can talk about in more detail. So I just didn't want you all to be caught by surprise when you, I've been reading it in the newspaper and seeing it, you know, hearing it on the radio, so. And it is, the nice thing about it is that at least as a statutory town, for once you have an option. Normally, they don't give you this option, they tell you only home rules can do it, so at least you have the option of doing it.
Sure. Wonderful. Anything else for Mrs. Carver? All right, thank you. All right, moving on to Troy.
Just a couple of things. In my report, I put out 3 dates for legislative sessions, last 3 Wednesdays of October, 16th, 23rd, and 30th. I will give a board reminder, the October 1st meeting as well. Working on a couple of agreements. Dave and I have been talking to Telos Internet, provider internet. I mentioned the keyless entry doors. They're going to start diving into that part of the business. We're waiting on a cost estimate from them. I think it'll be much more affordable than what it is obtained so far. My goal is by the first of the year to have that fitness room keyless entry. So, and then the last couple of days I sent it on to Kinder too. We're talking to a company named Atlas Tower on a potential land lease on a small pad site, 50 by 50 foot pad site. They reached out to me. They're looking at the southern part of the energy park, Lot B, which the town recently bought, and that's where they want to locate. Interesting company. We did some back and forth. You know, they always try to lowball. I can review it. Talking to some other companies in the past year, they kind of know in general what their high dollar is. Not really, just because of the company. But they want to put a tower in to enhance cellular communications around the area, primarily. So they'll sublease. The nice thing about this company is they have what they call stealth towers. They look like pine trees. They build them like church steeples. I mean, they've given all these pictures. So instead of a big ugly metal monopole, I told them that this did go to the board. I want a stealth tower where it was kind of hidden. I've seen a couple in Fort Collins where they're big, tall, 50-foot trees. At the top, you see this antenna.
Yep.
They're just like fake Christmas trees.
Yep. In Arizona, they're shaped like cactus.
Yeah.
Like saguaro.
So that's the new thing now, but that may or may not come to your board, but I'm looking at generating another 1,500 a month or 18,000 a year, we'll see.
Would they take up that whole, lot B?
No, just a 50-foot by 50-foot area, very tiny.
So we see what other market the rest of that.
Yeah, I put it on a spot which we want to use, obviously.
Middle of the retention pond.
There you go. Probably on the division side, not the Main Street side. But we're not there yet. 10 years ago, that rock lot over there west of the ball fields, that was it's called a Horvath Tower. It was a 100-foot monopole. That fenced-in area, that's what that was. That's who built the fence. And it was a government trial and error kind of a thing, providing rural internet to the community. And it went away. They couldn't do anything. I mean, they just went belly up. So they decommissioned the pole. I told them to keep the fence because then we use it for storage. That lease was $400 a month, so they didn't bring in much. But now telecommunication leases are very in demand. So, lastly, Thursday we have our first steering committee meeting with Cheryl Trent at 6 p.m. at the community center. The mayor will give introductions and welcome, I should say. Cheryl wants me to do. She'll only give me 10 minutes to do backgrounds on the sewer lagoon, CDOT comprehensive plan, downtown, streetscape, Gift State, Colorado, State of downtown.
You need to talk like me.
No, I'm gonna pick 4 or 5, and I will hide.
No, we want all of them.
Do you have an auctioneering class between now and then?
I'm a slow talking Midwesterner. But, yeah, lot of people have been contacted. I know I reached out to, I think, 3 or 4 that will be there. And, should be interesting. I know Mary's gonna provide something for everybody.
That's this Thursday?
Yes,
Thursday.
2 days.
And, otherwise, I'm gonna defer to Mary. Anything in the front office you wanna pass on? Nothing major? Okay.
We're, same thing, we're still waiting for, a couple of quotes on an auto pay with credit card. We can do, without much cost, we can do, a credit card payment that has to be initiated by the customer each month. I don't know if people are gonna go for that, because they want something that's just on autopilot. So until we can find a way to do that, the lowest information that I've been able to get from them at this point is $3,500.
So, I thought a big selling point with Assist was that they would allow us to do that.
If we use PayPal,
Oh. And we don't wanna use PayPal, or we can't use PayPal?
we could, our bank's not thrilled about the security with that for our customers'
So what do other
personal
municipalities,
information.
what do they use if they have Assist?
PayPal, or they don't do it. We have the auto draft to a bank account in place. We drafted that today. Oh, I don't recall the total number. I'd say there's probably 35 or 40 people that have signed up for that. And that's real simple, and that is automatic,
It does the same thing, right?
but it's a bank account.
Oh.
People don't want us to have their bank account number.
Oh, whatever. If I give you my debit card number, do you not have my bank account number?
No.
No, not his actual account number. You have an access point to the account, but you don't have the full account. You do this, you give the routing number and the account number,
Sure.
right? So you get the total, in theory, total access.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, we, you know.
Everybody does it, right? I mean, I don't know, PayPal is not that big a deal. I'm honestly happy to see PayPal because it's so instantaneous. As soon as you click it, it's paid.
I didn't have a PayPal account.
My husband wish I didn't have one either.
They really have a good process, as far as simplicity goes. I don't know about the security.
Is that way the bank doesn't like them because of security?
They have very high security standards. When I'm gonna do a night deposit today, because we've had a lot of utility payments. When I go back to get the night deposit bag back, I have to sign 3 different forms just to get a bank bag.
Wow.
They monitor everything very closely.
That's good to know.
Well, it is when, you know, you have people's lives running through your front office.
Yep, absolutely.
That's about all. We started doing the municipal code update. I have 3 ordinances left to load, but they're the ugly ones. So that'll be back up to date within a week or so.
And we save all that to submit it at once, we wait for a big amount of code.
No, we update internally. Every ordinance that comes through, whenever we need new code books, we print them.
Okay. Oh, so we're not talking about midway or whatever?
Muni Code hosts the site
Okay,
still.
okay. Alright, anything else for Mr. Rankin? Alright. I don't have anything to add. I've had a lot of, with the most recent accident on 21 and 66 with the truck, there's been a lot of chatter on Facebook about how that needs to have more lanes and so on and so forth, and I was all too happy to update how CDOT pulled that project to let everybody know. So if you see that, I'm not gonna lie.
Last I did is still currently ranked as the #1 safety intersection, so we're hoping
Like 2021.
in 2021.
when it was scheduled to be done last year. So anyways, if they don't like the decisions they make, then.
Do you ever do reaching for seat up, do you have other padding? So we can meter spelling or that number?
I might.
I think everyone may need that, yes.
Yes. But anyways, other than that, I don't have anything really to add. Committees.
A couple other things other than the large elephant we spoke about earlier. The other things, I don't know if I updated the board last time, but the first vote the committee took officially at a meeting about a month ago was that we wanted to pursue having farmers markets next year downtown, obviously with the board's approval. But we thought closing down Main Street, maybe 4 times or so next year in the summer, fall, to make it sort of a community event. That's one goal that we're going to pursue next year. And the only other thing is Larry, the dog park is getting built out on Saturday. Jason, the Boy Scout project, are doing that. So anyone that's available to help, I think they're looking for volunteers still. One thing that Larry Hatcher brought up that I wanted to see what kind of budgetary manipulations Troy or David could do for us is there's a section of mulch directly to the west of the dog park, between that fenced in area and the dog park fence. It's about 20 feet wide by 80 feet long.
18 by 105.
Okay, pretty good. It needs to be remulched. It's in dire straits. Larry took me down there and, kind of put my nose in it. And, he wants to remulch it. Is ultimately what his plan is.
I would recommend an expert come look at it.
Yes.
If I decided today I just do it, but that costs more money. Or
And
we can get donations or.
Right, he's willing to put in some work to find donations, and I think the city's willing to put in labor, but we want to see the town would be willing to help out with the cost of the mulch so that we can just make that whole area shine when Jason gets done with his thing.
Is that the ADA mulch? What kind of mulch are you talking?
What's there now is just chunks.
It's pretty large.
It's gorilla hair.
It's the gorilla hair? Okay.
It was just perimeter mulch when that tower I talked about went in, they rocked the front of it, they mulched the side of it.
Yeah. So that's the only thing the committee, we were thinking if we could try to parlay that with the dog park renovations, just to make the whole area look good.
Ground's a great thing.
I don't know if we have any money in a park, any sort of budget that we could put towards that. But Larry's gonna try to get, like Western renewable fiber, maybe do a donation. Do we have our 501c3 status yet?
It's pending, we're waiting on the IRS.
Okay.
What was the size of that area again?
18 by 105.
So across. The south end is a little, depending where you stop and start.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Just getting back in the swing of things here with the youth committee. I've been absent a few of the meetings there to family vacations, but we're transitioning from movies in the park to movies at the community center. Getting that underway, and trunk or treat there for Halloween.
Yes, so I've been helping Nick as much as I can. So the trunk or treat is going to be the Saturday before Halloween, so the 26th, I believe is what it is. Let's pull the minutes. That trunk or treat, October, I don't know what details, yes. 26th from 5 to 7. Then November 15th, they'll do a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving movie. not sure if that's at the community center or at the school. Do you remember?
This is the community center, not concerns of something going on
Yeah,
there,
so-
but it's at the school.
I was,
Not at the community center.
yeah, we can't
Okay.
have it at the community center if that's where they're having it.
Okay. Maybe I got mixed up there, we were talking about the community center with trunk or treat, but
Okay.
it could have been, I didn't hear if it was at the school.
And also, they're going to be doing a craft at the Lions Club Christmas Parade at the community
Yeah.
center after the Christmas parade. So, those are the 3 dates they have right now that they're working on, different events for youth. Anything else before the board?
Adrian,
Yes.
does everyone know what a trunk or treat is, or do we need clarification?
Everybody, it's like a safe trick or treat street, but it's in the trunks.
Oh, trunk, kid jumping.
Yes.
That's a bad attitude, you can get it.
All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Change their hours.
Unless you do it on.
Hey Melissa, if I go and see you,
I mean, honestly, the IRS, no, they said minimum 60 days. But yes, it's the IRS, and you can't even call. It wouldn't even let you, you can't even call till after 30 days. And then sometimes you call and it will literally say the wait time